Gotchasports. We are back for another episode. Been a couple of weeks. Life's crazy, Carrie. Get in the way, some sicknesses, holidays. We got all this jazz going on, but we are back, Carrie. How are we feeling?
Pretty nervous.
yeah.
Pretty nervous, not gonna lie. We both know why. We'll get into that later in the episode. But Thanksgiving was great. Um, got to see you a little bit, see some other friends. It was a great time. And everything else is the same. Nothing too crazy other than that. Just looking forward to this. One of the last few weekends of college football outside of the playoffs and the other bowl games.
yeah. No, Thanksgiving was good, though, for sure. Great food, great people, great time, great ball all around. Basketball was popping off. Had some incredible matchups during Feast Week. The whole players era saga. With I just lost my train of thought there. The English just was not working. But the Players Era Festival, great matchups, horrible tournament. Design of a tournament was not great. Feast Week, as we know it in college basketball, is just a different. It's a different week. It's not Feast Week anymore, which is a little bit. It was a little bit disappointing to see, but we'll see if some guy with a lot of money that ain't going to be us can bring back some of the old staples of Feast Week. But I doubt that happens. If it's your first time joining us, welcome. We are Gotcha Sports. Today's episode is strictly college football. We got a bunch to unpack with the whole playoff rankings. I mean, listeners know that this is a Notre Dame podcast first, which we'll get into why or why not Notre Dame should deserve to be in the playoff. And then we'll go into some of the other rankings, some interesting matchups that might happen, and just overall talk of where we think the committee stands and how well of the job they've done so far. But, Kerry, let's just kick it off. The rankings are out, the second to last rankings. Obviously, we got conference championship this week. The initial 12, really to tell you the story of what this college football playoff picture is going to look like. What were your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts, first of all, are literally all over the place. I've seen a horrendous amount of videos this week kind of saying why some teams are auto locks, why other teams aren't locks. I saw a video today saying that the SEC championship, the Big Ten championship, and the Big 12 championship, every single team in those are all locks. I understand that with the Big Ten and also the SEC. I think Bama's rightfully one of the best teams in the country. So even a loss to Georgia, I could see them staying in no matter what. Um, the BYU one, I'm not completely sold on. I was under the interpretation that a BYU loss would potentially mean they're out. Now I'm seeing some people saying a loss would not boot them. Um, so that, first of all, is all over the place. I don't even know what to think about that game anymore. Um, and there's been a lot of talk too about which teams are deserving to be in, which ones are not. And the main point I want to throw in this argument is, you can say teams like Miami, potentially even Vanderbilt and Texas are deserving to be in with their records, their strength of schedule, a lot of their ranked wins that they have. And I think the main point I want to get across is there's multiple teams that are deserving to be in that are not. Notre Dame is also going to be a part of that list. But if your sheer point of getting across is certain teams deserve to be in, I want to go back to 2023, Florida State, undefeated ACC champ. They had a quarterback injury, and he was essentially their whole team. They got left out of the Final Four, being, I believe, the only team without a loss in that playoff or in that season in general. Um, so yes, there's going to be multiple teams deserving, but it comes to a point you can't just use it as a fact to go into this. Like we've seen multiple times this year, Vanderbilt has looked very good. We've seen them look absolutely horrible too. And I think when it comes to those final seeds, the 9, 10, 11, 12, it should be all right. We need four teams that can truly put up a competition in an away game against the 5 through 8 seeds. Like, I hate to be the person to say it, and great seasons to these teams. I don't want to see North Texas or James Madison in the 11 seed or 12 seed and have to go play potentially at Alabama, potentially at Georgia, at Oklahoma, one of the best defenses in the country, at Oregon. And Oregon, I think they receive a little too much praise, in my opinion. Um, but like, I get it. You're giving the smaller schools a shot, but I don't think this is the time or place to do it.
Yeah, it's an interesting landscape, right? Initially, relating back to the whole Florida State thing in 2023, people were saying, "Oh, this won't happen again. We're expanding to 12 teams." And rightfully so. It was always going to happen again. And especially this 12-team playoff format, the way it is designed right now, it probably does work, but it doesn't work when you have two conferences that have what, 18 plus teams in each. This type of format where conference championships matter, but they also don't matter, like, it doesn't work in this landscape of college football because of how big the conferences are. So all of this is it's never going to change. It's always going to be like this. It's going to be jam packed for those final 3-4 spots because there's not enough room for teams to pull away with how big the conferences are. Going back to the whole Vanderbilt thing, I think it just shows how much this committee is devaluing. Is that a word?
Sure,
Sure.
works for me.
Sure.
I'm not going to question it.
The committee's just telling you that they don't value Texas at a high level, because if they did, Vanderbilt would probably be in. Going in, or excuse me, losing to Texas is just showing them that that's not a great loss for Vanderbilt, which you can debate if Texas is deserving or not, but that's what the committee is saying. And everybody, all of these different theories are going around, like, no matter what happens, Miami's jumping Notre Dame. No matter what happens, BYU win or lose, they're automatically in. No matter what happens with Bama, they're in. At what point do you have to look at what the committee's done so far and just believe that that's what they're doing? If their reasoning for Notre Dame being ahead of Miami is because Miami has two worse losses than Notre Dame, how is BYU's game against Texas Tech going to affect that? If the committee truly felt that Miami was better than Notre Dame and was more deserving of that last or second to last final spot in the playoff, they'd be ahead of us now. Why wouldn't they be 10, and why wouldn't we be 11 or 13 or whatever? You know what I'm saying? Because right now they're, if the committee, if this entire point was just to come up to this head-to-head matchup, have Notre Dame be behind Miami in this last rankings, so then there's no talk about it anymore. Are you trying to save so it's a huge debate and you want everybody talking leading up to the playoffs? Maybe. I just don't see it. I think the committee has chosen what they've chosen, and I don't think they're going to go back on it no matter if BYU loses, wins, whatever. What's going to happen is that Miami is going to stay behind Notre Dame. And you can agree with it if not. If head to head truly matters to you, and that's another thing. Why can't the committee just come out and say head to head matters more than strength of schedule? No matter what week of the year, that head to head matchup, that matters most. Because then there would be no debate. There would be no back and forth. There would be no crying about Miami beat Notre Dame. They deserve to be in. The way that I'm interpreting it based off the playoff ranking is that the committee doesn't necessarily care that the head-to-head matchup happened. Especially, I think they care more that it happened about in week 1 or 2 of the college football season, and they care more about the way the teams look right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that is also the very frustrating case about this committee. We unfortunately are never going to get the full detailed conversation of actually the entire conversation that went on in that room each Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whenever they get together and have a glass of wine, whatever they do, and have a conversation. It's just that's the frustrating part. You really don't know what matters more to them. And it seems right now that they are, in a sense, looking at the progression of every single team throughout the entire season. And, it comes down to Notre Dame again, 3-point loss at Miami to open up the season, 1-point loss at home to Texas A&M next week. We won out, looked shaky against Boston College, but everything else looked great. And the other thing is, too, you can argue we played a bunch of dog shit teams. Miami played a handful of the same dog shit teams, and
Worse,
yeah, they
technically,
outscored.
based off of strength of schedule, worse
Yeah,
teams.
yes, and they want to make this argument that 3 out of the 4 of the teams they beat us worse, or they beat the other team worse than we did. Congrats for playing your starters throughout the entire game. You were tied with Stanford at halftime. That's horrible from what I saw from when we played Stanford. Syracuse game, I will leave that one out. That was irrelevant. That quarterback, like, they didn't have a football team when we played them. I don't really know really what was going on with that team. Pitt, yeah, you beat Pitt by maybe 7 or 8 more points than we did, and Pitt used a timeout with 5 seconds left, down 28 or whatever it was, to get one final touchdown when we had our backups in. Good for you guys. And then I don't know. I don't recall what the fourth game was that we had a similarity team with, but it's just like you want to make this argument for being so great. You do, like, why would we want to throw Miami in over Notre Dame when they do have a loss to SMU unranked, Louisville unranked. Louisville was at home or at Miami. Miami was probably a 14.5 point favorite that game.
Mm.
Like, there has to be, there's more of a discussion when you say, like, head to head is a huge thing to me. But at the same time, you want to go lose to those two teams. It's different if they would have lost to, I mean, I can't even name another team on their schedule. I don't know who else they played outside of us, because they had Florida. Florida's horrible. They had Florida State. Florida State was horrible. And typically, those teams would be up there on the schedule as the tougher games. And those teams just didn't prove to be that this year.
Yeah, to be honest with you, no matter who you ask, it's going to go one way or the other. They either think Miami deserves to be in over Notre Dame because they beat them head to head, or they think Notre Dame deserve, or both teams deserve to be in, because if you're going to put Miami in, or Notre Dame in, you're going to have to put Miami in. Whatever stance you have, that's totally fine. If you think head to head truly matters, whether it's in week 1, week 4, week 12 of the season, if that head to head matchup truly matters, then your stance is Notre Dame deserves to be out. And then you're going to stand by it. If you truly think head to head matters, in my opinion, head to head does matter. But head to head in week 1 of college football is different than head to head in, let's say, week 10. If we play a team in week 2 or a common opponent in week 3, and Miami plays them in week 10, and things look a little bit different and Miami struggles, what is that telling you? A Miami team that's 10 weeks into the season is struggling, and then you have a Notre Dame team that's 10 weeks into the year that, yes, has 2 losses, same as Miami, to 2 incredibly way better teams. And then you're at this point in the season where it's like, okay, which team should we put in? In my opinion, you put the team that's played better and that's proven that they have gotten better and that they're in the spot that they are now because of what they've done in the present. Miami, they had some great wins early on the season. That's awesome. What's killing them is their bad losses towards the end of the year. If they have one of those losses in the beginning of the season, they have one of those marquee wins towards the end of the season, I think it's a completely different conversation, which is why I don't think head to head matters as much as people think it does.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's the whole reason Bama even got bumped past Notre Dame this past weekend. I think that was the committee's way of saying, even with an Alabama loss in the SEC championship, they're not going anywhere, and that was to essentially solidify their position. Because I mean, what else are you going to do with that Bama team if you have them in the 10 spot, 9 spot going to this last week, and they lose the SEC championship? And then there's literally no room for discussion of if someone bumps past them. Like,
Right.
it's just not going to be a thing, because they literally know Bama talent wise deserves to be here, and they can compete with anyone in the country.
For sure. And to be honest with you, all of the analysts and everything you're seeing on TV, honestly, is comparing Notre Dame to Alabama, not even Notre Dame to Miami. Is that because with these current rankings, those analysts are thinking that Miami is 100% out? I don't know. And so that's where I'm kind of at right now. Is you have all these different theories going around. Miami beat Notre Dame head to head; they deserve to be in. BYU only has 1 loss, and it's to the Big Ten, probably, or I don't want to say probably, could be the Big 12 champion, or the best team in the Big 12 is who their losses came to. I like there's all of these different scenarios on Saturday. Anything could happen. At the end of the day, what I'm basing it off of is what the committee has shown before. I will be shocked if Miami does jump Notre Dame, if BYU loses and let's say Alabama loses, whatever. I will be shocked if Miami jumps them because I think it was just a completely unavoidable situation if you just have Miami ahead of us first.
Yeah. I mean, it was when Miami had that second loss to Notre Dame had then four past them, and Notre Dame did what they had to do in order to maintain that spot, and then also get bumped into the top 10 and be where they're at right now. So it's just like, yes, I completely understand. Miami, you beat us. You did. That was a great argument until you lost these two games to the teams that you did.
Right.
And, it would be different. I think it'd be completely different, even if one of these teams was at least 23, 24, 25 at the time, but they just weren't. Um, and I'm not going to sit here and act like it doesn't matter because it does. Sucks to be a Miami fan right now. Notre Dame fans aren't in the greatest spot either because we just have to sit back and watch. I would much rather be playing a game and further kind of arguing our position. That is not me whatsoever saying I wish we were in a conference. That is not at all what I mean by that. But if an additional game would allow us to prove something, then yes, I think we could face a great team right now, and I think we beat them wherever we play. For example, we saw Vanderbilt's coach say he had his players pack their bags just in case they played this Saturday. I would love to play Vanderbilt. I think Notre Dame stomps all over them.
I
And
agree. I would
future
love to
reference,
play that
if
extra game too.
yes, I mean it. Like I said, doesn't have to be a conference game, but if we're at this point in the season and there's that big of a debate between 2, 3 teams, what does it hurt throwing a game right here? If neither teams are in a conference championship, what does it hurt having a play-in game?
Yeah, and I've seen that argument across analysts and whoever you want to say too to play that extra game. And I agree, they should play that extra game. And you're going to hear the arguments from Miami like, "Oh, why do we have to play another game? We already proved that we can beat you guys." That's fine. Kerry, they did beat us. They beat us in week 1. All hands to them. Like they beat us. They got me to a point in this season, and I was maybe the only one out there that said this team was not legit. And then they had me, and I said, you know what? This defense is really good. They're legit. They immediately go out and lose to Louisville. It's a different week of the season. And if that doesn't matter to you, if you can't throw away the past and you're like, you know what? Whatever happened in week 1, that's what matters most, then you're just naive. If you don't want to play Notre Dame. I wouldn't either. And quite frankly, a lot of these teams probably don't. You think when Texas A&M was sitting on their couch after losing to Texas, their final game of the season, knowing that potentially they're going to have to play Notre Dame again, shaking in their boots. And I guarantee you, if you ask Miami fans, if you ask anybody, is Notre Dame a top 12 team in college football? All of the legit college football fans that are looking for the best matchups are going to say that Notre Dame is not just a top 12 team, they're probably a top 6 team. And Vegas shows it too with the odds that they have to win the national championship. What an absolute travesty it would be to not watch this Notre Dame team in the playoffs. But at the end of the day, if they don't put us in because Miami beat us, I got to live with it.
Yeah. And I don't know how I would live with it, honestly. Because like you said, there's no real analyst out there that would not tell you they are not a top 12 team because they beyond the point are. And like I said, this goes back to the same conversation I had said earlier. Great for James Madison in North Texas. I think in the future you cannot just toss them those games. I don't really I don't I couldn't tell you what they should do, how they should do it. I can't say that they should add some bigger schools into their schedule because I mean you just can't do that. But it's just like I don't want to see these teams get in and just get absolutely bodied in the first round because we
Yeah.
saw that a few times last year. And the automatic conference winners last year just got bounced, or like
Right.
right away. Like
I
that's
got
something
you.
which I know I understand. I understand those aren't the top four teams this year, which is a good thing. Um, but it's just like I really think they need to find a way to make every single game as competitive as possible, outside of just giving North Texas a shot at the 12th seed to go play at Georgia or at Alabama, whatever it ends up being.
I would disagree with that just because I do agree that it wouldn't be the most competitive matchups, but that's also you have to. I mean, because God forbid one of James Madison or North Texas, God forbid they do go on the road and beat Oregon. I mean, that's like college football talk about it for 80 years type of stuff that could happen. So I don't want any of that to change. I just don't think that this college football playoff format is going to work in the way that the conferences are aligned. I don't know if that means you bring back, because the conferences are so big, if you bring back divisions. Big Ten is split into two, SEC split into two. I don't know if that's the answer. I don't know if the answer is the conferences are too big. You got to have a max conference of 14 teams or whatever the case might be, or if it's changing the playoff format. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that the argument from expanding it from 4 teams to 12 teams was there's too many good teams. We need to have a bigger playoff to where all of these teams can get in. And now we're sitting here at 12 teams and the exact same thing is happening because you didn't look at the other side of things. College sports are college sports because of the conferences, because of the fan bases, because of the atmosphere, because it's different than a pro style format, which is why I think it has so much attraction and appeal. So I don't think you can really change that unless you want to change the entire landscape of college football. But something does need to change. And I'm not just saying this because Notre Dame might get left out. Because, like I said, I got to live with it. We lost to Miami. We lost to Texas Tech on a holding call or a non-holding call that should have been called holding. We lost because Tyler Buckner dropped an
Texas
extra point,
A&M.
or Texas A&M. So I'm not complaining because we're in this position. We're in this position because we put ourselves there. And my point is that the conferences are too big, and the college football playoff format is getting so much hate and commotion right now because of that fact, because everything is just too crowded. So we got to figure it out. I don't know what the best
Yeah,
answer is, but at the end of the day, Notre Dame deserves to be in the playoff because they're a top 5 team in football.
yeah, and I don't know. Maybe in the future, 11 and 12 seed, given the chance that they are not in their conference championship, you can do a play both those playing games for the 10 through 14 final ranked teams of the season. Because as we're seeing it, it's Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, Miami, and Texas are the teams throwing fits right now as to who should get in and why. And let me tell you, those games, however they could shape out between those four teams, those games would be awesome. I would be a big fan of watching every single one of those teams play each other. Like that is something that'd be sick in the future. I don't know if it'll ever happen. I doubt they ever do playing games for the overall playoff bracket, but just an idea.
Yeah.
And another thing, if you're a Miami fan, I don't want to hear you say a single word about conference play. You're not in your own conference championship. You are allowing a 7-5 Duke team to be in the conference championship against Virginia. Virginia, not a horrible football team, top 12 in the country, no shot.
I will say that I don't understand why the ACC can't come in and be like, look, Duke, don't act like you deserve to be here. You lost 5 times, you lost twice in conference, and there's 3 other teams sitting there with you that have the exact same losses, or the amount of losses in conference. Give it to the best team. Honestly, as a Notre Dame fan, I'm glad
Yes,
that the
this,
ACC is not doing that because I don't want Miami to go out there and have add something else if they go out and beat a pretty
oh, dude,
mediocre Virginia team. But if that's what it's going to
yeah, this
take,
was this
I'd
was an
rather go
absolute
see Miami
godsend.
lose that game to Virginia and further solidify our spot because
Yeah,
I'm that convinced that Miami is not going to do a single thing in the college football playoff if they make
yeah. Duke, Virginia was a godsend though.
it. Yeah. It's
because
Carrie as an
Miami is playing this weekend. That'd get a lot scarier.
as a Notre Dame fan. Do you think Notre Dame should join a conference?
No, and I could be wrong about this. Did we not try to join the Big Ten a couple years ago, and we found out we were just going to lose a ton of money doing so?
Well, that's my entire argument. Yes. We can't just leave the
Yeah,
ACC. It is going to cost Notre Dame way too much money. And we're also, I don't think we'd ever join the ACC full time. The ACC may not even be a conference in 2 years. Florida State and Clemson leave, it is a free for all.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we would be seeing Virginia and Duke in the ACC title game a lot more.
Yeah. It's see that, and that's the thing. It's like stay independent. They're going to talk their talk. Notre Dame's going to keep scheduling their opponents. That's another thing too. Is everybody talks about how Notre Dame schedules this light and next year's is light. If you look at historically Notre Dame's football schedule, it's top 10 hardest schedules in the country every year. So that argument
Well,
is
okay,
crazy to me.
it's another thing too. It's another thing too. We didn't. Stanford used to be great. We didn't predict them
Correct.
to suck. Like these games are planned years in advance.
Correct.
Pitt, Pitt was supposed to be amazing, and they looked horrible in a lot of games this year. Cannot control that. USC, USC is not the team they have been. We can't control that. But these are all big brand college football names that used to be freaks every single year. So it's just
Right.
like at the end of the day, yeah, maybe our schedule wasn't the toughest, but it's not on our scheduling. It has to do with these teams that just have fallen off.
And what's crazy too is everybody's talking about the whole scheduling thing. Texas is pissed off because, oh, we shouldn't have scheduled Ohio State. We'd be 10-2. We'd be in the playoff. Miami talking about, oh, yeah, we may have not played the best schedule, but we beat Notre Dame. The only reason, Miami, that you are in this conversation, the only reason that you're anywhere remotely close to the playoff right now is because you scheduled Notre Dame and you beat them. So you've got Miami, you got Texas, two big time college football programs, both saying, why are we scheduling these games? I'll tell you why you're scheduling them, because Miami, you wouldn't be here if you didn't. And Texas, you know what? Quite frankly, you didn't lose to Ohio State, didn't kick you out of the playoff. Okay. You did that one all by yourself to the other crappy schools you lost to.
Right. Well, and the thing with that Texas game with Ohio State, it was like that Texas game or that team on that field was not the same team that finished the season.
No.
They truly just fucking looked horrible to Ohio State, and they're just not going to admit that. They didn't go to Ohio State and play their ass off and barely lose. Yeah, they lost by 7, but they looked god awful. They looked horrible.
Right. And so people are saying, like, again, if Sarkisian's going to make the whole Texas argument, we scheduled Ohio State early in the year, we lost. That shouldn't penalize us. Okay, look at the rest of the year. You guys got better. So why can't you? Notre Dame did the exact same thing. We scheduled 2 out of conference games that we didn't have to schedule, and we played one of them on the road and we lost. But guess what we did? We got better throughout the rest of the season. Not only got better, we were dominant throughout the rest of the season. I don't care if the competition was worse than when we played in week 2. We got better. We consistently got better in not only just one games, blew teams out, covered in damn near all of them. And now we're in a position here where we may not get in. So the whole scheduling argument is bullshit, because guess what? We did schedule those and we didn't win, and we can schedule whoever we want. If you don't want to come play us as a big time opponent, then don't. Let's go win. Let's go 12-0, and then you're going to be like, "Hey, Notre Dame's here. They didn't play anybody. Do they deserve to be?" You know what I'm saying? So it's like you either play good teams
Yeah.
and then you get penalized for winning or losing, or you don't play good teams and you get penalized for not playing good teams. With the way college football is and how big these conferences are, we can't have it both ways. And so if Notre Dame can stay independent, we're going to stay independent.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, you and I will have zero decision making in that whole process. So like all you other people online, just remember what we say
Does not
means
matter.
literally nothing.
No.
So, and we get riled up about it knowing that, but I know a million other people think like us, say things like us, and at the end of the day, it does not matter. I don't see Notre Dame leaving the independent state that they're in anytime soon for football.
No, I would agree with that. And you know what? We'll find out this weekend. As a Notre Dame fan, I don't really know if I know what we need to happen with everything that I've seen. I don't really know, but I think I'm a Texas Tech fan this week. I think I'm a Georgia fan this week, and I think those two things happen. Notre Dame will be in the playoffs, and people are going to be pissed, and we are going to play one tough ass road game. And I'll tell you what, that team is not going to want to play us. And man, I hope we win a couple. I hope we win a couple and come back and be like, yeah, leave us out. You should have left us out because here you are. We're still playing and you're not.
Right. Yeah. I think the same thing. I literally, as much as I love college football, I cannot wait for this weekend to be over so I can just see what the final standings are and playoff thing is because I'm tired of scrolling through TikToks and watching a billion different takes on why people should get in, why they shouldn't get in, and it's just messing with my head at this point.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out on Sunday where Notre Dame's fate lies. We'll be here to cover it. You're gonna get our genuine reactions. Could be happy, could be pissed, could be sad. Who knows what's gonna happen? But conference championship week is here. We have one of the most unanticipated 1-2 matchups of all time, which is crazy. Again, this whole format I think is ruining that. So we got a 1-2 matchup that again nobody's really talking about. We've got the SEC matchup again. We got Texas Tech at noon tomorrow. Texas Tech BYU. Tune in to see the fate of the Irish, and we'll be here to talk about it. We got best bet for you. We got special edition best bet for you, but you're going to have to go on our X page at Gotchasports to see those. Go follow us on all of our socials while you're at it. We're going to tweet our best bets. We'll be live tweeting throughout this weekend, see where the Irish are. But Carrie, that's all I got. You got anything else to add?
I don't think so. I need this weekend to be over.
We will see where the fate of the Irish lie. But this is college football, Carrie. This is college sports. This is why we wake up every Saturday and just be a couch potato because this excitement, nerves, anger, happiness, whatever you are, wherever you're at on the spectrum of college football, this is why we love it. This is why we do it. But Carrie, that is all I got. What do you got?
We got your sports.
Until next time.